In a world where tech ages faster than your favourite memes, why is this 2017 iPad Pro with 64GB of storage still part of my content creation setup? Now, when you think of the modern creator workflow, you picture the latest phone, the fastest laptop, the most powerful desktop. And the truth is, when we watch other creators online, we can't help but compare our setup to theirs. My own setup has evolved a lot over the years. Right now, I've got the iPhone 17 Pro, although it doesn't get used in the workflow as much as it used to since I've moved to other cameras. So now I've got action cameras like the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, and of course my main camera, the Sony ZV-E10, which always films in these sort of A-roll situations. On top of that, I've got my M2 MacBook Air for editing on the go, and my M4 Mac Mini, the little editing monster at home. But this old 2017 iPad Pro, it's still here, still doing work and still contributing. Let me take you back for a second. When I first started this YouTube channel, I filmed everything on my iPhone 11. No fancy camera, no multi-device setup, just me and the phone. And every single video got transferred onto this iPad, and I edited everything here on LumaFusion. So if you scroll back to some of my older videos, you'll even find some tutorials of me teaching LumaFusion on this iPad and editing 4 videos on it. That was the normal workflow back then, and compared to what my workflow looks like now in this same room, it sometimes feels miles apart from those early days. And it was until I started increasing the production value of my videos and upgraded to my original M1 Mac Mini that I stopped editing on this iPad. And honestly, it was only because the file size jumped way beyond what this base 64GB iPad could handle, and it was cheaper to get a Mac Mini than it was to upgrade this to the newest iPad Pro. So yeah, I've always wanted a workflow that still feels efficient, simple and fun, even as my gear evolved and still to this day continues to evolve. And what I've learned from doing this is that not everything needs to be replaced just because something newer exists. But here's the truth. This iPad is kind of ancient now. It no longer gets the latest iPadOS 26 Apple Intelligence. This thing doesn't even get a whisper of that. Now, some may actually say that's a good thing. Some apps even struggle, and some of the newer apps aren't even compatible with this. And compared to something like my iPhone, it's not even that fast. Then not too long ago, I realized something. This iPad doesn't need to compete with any of my newer devices. It just needs a role, you know, some form of purpose, whether that's jotting thoughts or planning videos in Apple Notes with the Apple Pencil, making sketches in Procreate, using the iPad when I'm taking some time out from the creative process and playing with my guitar, or even just using it as a second display for my MacBook Air. It might not be the vital machine that it once was for my channel, but it's still a powerful and useful creative companion. Now, this is where all my ideas now start. Scripts, brainstorms, mind maps, shot lists all start from that one point. Apple Notes runs perfectly, the Apple Pencil works beautifully, and I've even got a paper-like cover on this that I've had on it for many years that still makes writing on this iPad feel paper-like. Anything and everything within that Apple ecosystem synced automatically, so I can just pick them up from anywhere. Honestly, it feels like this is my digital notepad to just sit in that gap where I need something convenient that's bigger than my phone, but not a hassle to use in most situations like a laptop or a desktop computer would be. Now, this serves as my dedicated app hub. Only the most convenient apps and the ones that I definitely need for productivity sit on here. You know, and all those apps still work flawlessly, and that's all I need. Apple Notes, OneNote for work, LumaFusion for smaller video projects, Procreate for sketches, and dual displays that give my MacBook an extra screen. And all this results in having a workflow that reduces that mental noise. You know, having that slightly restricted workflow with this just reduces, as I said, that mental noise. I'm not as distracted by new features or things like Apple Intelligence updates. I'm well aware that not receiving the software updates is usually the beginning of the end for things like this, and one day those vital applications that I need will no longer be compatible with this. But for now, that's fine. Now look, I'll be honest with you, I'd love a new iPad. I mean, who wouldn't? The M series Apple Silicon iPads, they're ridiculous. They're insanely powerful. They have more headroom than iPadOS actually lets them use. And that's kind of the problem. In a world where I've already got my iPhone 17 Pro, my main Sony ZV-E10 camera, the M2 MacBook Air and the M4 Mac Mini, the iPad sits in this weird, uncertain place. Those other devices overlap with so many of the roles that the iPad could play, and in some cases they even do a better job. Now, the Apple Silicon iPads are beasts. They're almost too powerful for their own software. They kind of feel like they're built for something bigger, something like macOS maybe. Apple are already integrating some macOS features and putting them on iPadOS, but will we ever see macOS on an iPad? Who knows? Apple keep dancing around it, sidestepping it, teasing us without ever committing. But maybe the moment Apple finally gives an iPad that identity that matches its hardware, that's when I'll finally retire this 2017 iPad Pro. Until then, it still works, it still has a purpose, and it's still earning its place amongst my content creation. This 2017 iPad Pro started my YouTube journey. I edited my first videos on it. It taught me the basics of editing from having no previous experience. And even today, surrounded by brand new tech, it still earns its place. The way I use this iPad now has taught me tech doesn't always need to be replaced with the latest and greatest. Sometimes it just needs a new job. Now, if you've got an older device lying around, before you write it off, try giving it a new purpose like I've done with this iPad. You might be surprised just how much creative life is still in it. If you enjoyed this video, press that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.